Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Finance and Safety Committee meeting of Tuesday, January 16, 2018. The first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Solom, second by Vilhauer. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. You can't vote. The second item on the agenda is update on Prairie Lakes Wellness Center operations for 2017. And I see John Small is preparing to talk to us. Kristen, did you want to introduce it or?
Introduce myself.
Yeah, this is John.
Thank you.
Here? I lost it. Okay, what I'd like to do tonight is, I know a lot of people have been asking questions, and a couple of councilmen, I think you too, Mayor, wanted just a little presentation on how the facility is doing since we opened up March 20th and through the first basically 9 months, December 31st. So just put together just a short presentation, mostly numbers, a few stories, a few pictures, but we'll go from here. So first off, memberships from March 20th through December 31st, the Wellness Center signed up 921 new memberships. And that's individuals, families, couples, wide range. And beginning back in January of 17th, entering 2017, I shouldn't say March, but January 17th, we had 1,230 memberships going into 17, and by the end of the year, December 31st, we had 1,973, which was a 38% increase. So people ask, well, did you meet your expectations? It's just hard to determine what we were going to have. So go ahead.
Go ahead, Councilman Vilhauer.
John, obviously there were some losses or some non-renewing members.
That is correct, yes.
Was that similar to the old facility as far as the losses that or the non-renewals?
I would say a little bit less just because of the new building.
Okay.
And some of them, we lost memberships because of, we changed our type of membership policy where before we had a policy where you had to be married to get a membership, and we went away with that, and then some people combined memberships and that. So.
Thanks, John.
And so far through the first 15 days of this year, we've through yesterday, actually, we had 50 new memberships, just 57 join. And we really didn't know what to expect, because after having 900 through the first 8, 9 months, we didn't know if anybody out there is left to join, but obviously there is. So it's going well so far this year. Attendance. Just give you a little history. Total attendance that we had at the rec center back in 2016, that people checked into at the front desk, we had slightly over 122,000. For the full year of January through December, we had our new facility, we had 226,000. And these numbers include numbers from January, February, and the first 3 weeks in March of the old facility. If we were opened back in January of 17, we would have probably had another 25,000. So it is well used, and that there's days we have over 1,000 people that'll come in and check in. And just give you an idea, for 1 month, in the month of November of 16, we had approximately 8,800 people check in at the front desk, and this year in November we had 24,400. So. Birthday programming, just some numbers here. Birthday parties, March through we have a community room and which / birthday party room right off the pool, and just from March through December we had 153 birthday parties. Some weekends we would have 4, 8, 10 parties, 2 on Friday night, 4 on Saturday, and 4 on Sunday. So it's just that's not every weekend, but there was a few that we had. Acceleration program that we've had the last 20 years at the rec center and now the wellness center. It's a summer program for high school and college athletes. We would get 35 to 40 kids sign up for participate in a 6-week program. This year we had 85 for the summer. And now we're able to run this program year-round because we just have the room. And we have 6-week session in the fall, and there'll be one in the spring. Strongest program that we have at the facility right now is our group fitness program, and we're able to provide 56 classes per week of land classes and 16 water classes. And it's and the majority of these classes are very well attended. And then we're even looking at needing, because of the waiting list on some of them, we're looking of adding on, classes, and we always have new ones, we want to add to, so new type of classes. Our senior classes have really gone up too, and we have the old facility. They had to go down about 12 steps, 14 steps to go to our group fitness room, and a lot of people didn't participate because of that. But now with the elevator, we have sometimes 45, 50 participants in our group fitness room in the mornings, and that. Gymnasium use between our auxiliary gym, the single gym, as well as the forecourt park and rec gym. Pickleball has become very huge. This whole fall, on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we'd get over 20 individuals playing pickleball. And it's gone down a little bit now because of the snowbirds, but it's very popular. We even had a tournament early November and had 36 participants, and they came as far as Rapid City, Sioux Falls, Alexandria, Minnesota, other communities, Pierre, and as well as Watertown participants. So, and we'll have that on an annual basis. And then the auxiliary gym, the single gym, that is what we manage on a day-to-day basis. And my goal at the time when we built it was just to keep it open and have very little activity scheduled in there. We do have the pickleball in the mornings, but school's in session, so that's okay. But otherwise, it's open, and we have as early as 6 o'clock in the morning till 10 at night. There's somebody seems to be in there all the time. If it's 3-year-olds with their parents, or seniors, or just anybody shooting around, playing pickleball. Other activities, and so it's to me it's just a place where a lot of the families are able to come in and take their kids and run off steam. We our old facility sharing with the Boys and Girls Club, we just had very little opportunity to have open gym and that, so it's a big plus for us and for our members. Budget, revenue wise, we projected for the 2017 to bring in $1,371,600. Actual budget of what we brought in was $1,312,790, so about $58,000 less than what we anticipated. Expense, we projected budget for 17 was $1,192,100, and actual expense we spent $1,328,692. So it's a difference of $136,592. The three main areas that caused that the deficit was utilities. We were way below than what we anticipated, way below than what we actually had, and electricity was the biggest thing. And we're constantly talking to people, working on it, and tweaking things, and we hope that will be down quite a bit for next year. But the first year we just didn't know what to expect. Insurance was a big factor too, the premiums for the insurance. And getting back to the utilities also, we are still paying for our old rec center utilities until things get settled with the Boys and Girls Club in the city. So we spent about $20,000 from April through the end of the year on our old facilities, utilities. And insurance also, besides our facility, we're still paying for the premium, the insurance for the rec center. And then part-time wages. Coming into it, we anticipated what we were going to need. We were short in some areas. Probably the biggest things I'll mention later too is cleaning, lifeguarding, and front desk receptionists. So that was spent more than we needed to spend more than what we actually budgeted, and that. So at the end of 2017, we're going to show this is not an accurate number. There's still a few bills coming in, but we're looking at about a $20,000 deficit in that, and when everything is said and done. But coming into it somewhat blindly, we feel pretty good that this is the amount. The Park and Rec Gymnasium, the Park and Rec and the Wellness Center share the 4 courts. The Park and Rec has the control over the scheduling and that, but we work with them on a daily or weekly basis. And whenever we have some programs that we schedule in there for activities for our members, but then when there's open courts, it's open for our members to come in and pick up basketball or volleyball. We always try to leave a volleyball net up, and so the courts. And I have not used to hear the complaints all the time, the old facility about accessibility, but we have not had. Well, I have not heard any. Maybe there's a few that hasn't got to me, but we're able to take care of our members as far as just day-to-day using of the gymnasiums. The Park and Rec court rentals, they are getting busier each month. The weekend events. November we had 2 weekends of activities, volleyball and I think it was basketball. December we had 2 weekends we had activities going on. January 3 weekends would be tied up. February all 4 weekends. March 3 and April 2. So, and these the majority of these activities are tournaments, events: swimming, soccer, basketball, volleyball, and wrestling, and that. And we anticipate this will grow. I mean, this is our first full winter, and we have some outside people coming in renting the gym for tournaments, and we plan on, between the Park and Rec and the Wellness Center, we plan on doing more of ourselves too. And then, as I mentioned, the auxiliary gym is controlled by the Wellness Center and very little scheduled activities. And as I mentioned earlier, they're just it's being used all day long, and that. So these are just a couple pictures. If they this is here is a couple weeks week before Christmas. We had a gentleman that put on a basketball tournament, and you can see how many people are there. They had I think 40 teams, 5th and 6th graders, boys and girls, and it was very doable. I know when we had a tournament last March, it was very crowded and lack of seating, but we were able to purchase more portable bleachers, and it can accommodate enough for the people. And you see the bleachers a little bit on the right hand picture. That's a typical shot of 2 games going on at a time, and that. So, and then this court is full of swimming kids and parents. This is last weekend. Well, actually, this was taken in December. They had their candy cane meet, the swim team, and when they have a meet, they need to have a court to, I call it as a holding tank, just to house the parents and the swimmers when they're not participating, because the pool cannot handle everybody, and that's so we have a court, and so that's kind of what it looks like. But as you see in the background, in the other court, so we curtain that off, and then we still have our members can use it, and that. And then this is people watching the games in the bleachers. Okay, positive and main attractions at the Prairie Lakes Wellness Center. The things that I feel that have really stood out is the leisure pool, obviously. The 3-lane swim at your own risk. We have the 8-lane competitive pool, which is 3.5 feet to 9 feet, and when we have a lap swim, it's lifeguarded. We have somebody, a certified lifeguard on guarding, and that. But the 3-lane, we have 3 lanes that's with the leisure pool, and we will. That's only 3.5 feet to 5 feet, and our members sign a waiver, and they can swim pretty much whenever the rec center, the wellness center is open. Actually, the facility is open 17 hours a day, and they are able to lap swim 13.5 of those hours. So, of course, they wish they had more and that, but it's just way beyond what we had in our old facility. The family locker rooms are a huge hit. We built those for families in the evenings and weekends. For their kids, we have 6 or 8 individual stalls, and then that they can change in, a shower, a stool, and a sink. But what we're finding out, a lot of our members during the daytime are using it, and they have their own privacy, and they just hang their stuff in the locker and go work out or use a pool, whichever, but they are using it. And it's a godsend right now because we're having some doing some floors in our women's locker room this week, and so we close that off, but everybody can use, all the ladies and kids, girls can use the family locker room, so we have an option, which is, it's been a big help. The walking track, we are it's up there in that area today, and there's just, it was not full, but there's lots of people. It's probably one of the most popular, especially obviously this time of the year, but all ages are using that walking track, and it's just great. And that is our mind body, which is yoga room, hot yoga. We started out pretty shaky the first couple months because we just had a lot of issues with the heating system and the humidity, but we have those worked out, and it's very, very popular. And then the Wellness Center gymnasium, as I mentioned, our single court, it gets heavily used throughout the day. And just overall, the facility is huge, and it can accommodate a lot of members. Everybody, I think, goes by the facility, especially right now, or from 5 o'clock on, and the facility, the parking lot is full in the front and also on the east side. But you walk in, it's just not that crowded. And it's there's lots, you might have 25 people in 2 different classrooms, and then we have people in the pool swimming, and plus so they're not all maxed out in our cardio or weight room and that. So it's very accommodating. And areas of concern. This is not all a hunky-dory presentation. We do have some things, but utility is much higher than expected, and we're working on that. And of course, we budgeted much higher this year for 2018 than last year, but we're working on it. We had tie in with let me see, the second to the bottom, ceiling leaking. We're having a tremendous amount of leaks up in the upstairs, and first we thought it was the roof leaking, but there's days that are just no snow this fall, and cold, but nothing to melt, and we're still getting leaks, and there's issues where there's frost being accumulating in the ceiling, and then when it gets somewhat warm or the building warms up, then it starts leaking. And we had our architect, Mike, help me here, Mike Stu from Western, our heating and cooling guy from Sioux Falls came up, our active heating, Protect Roofing, and Pitts Construction came up, and we were all going through everything and seeing what the issue was, and they have a few ideas. They feel that right now the facility has too much pressure in the building to force the air out. It's supposed to be at 1%, and right now it's at 5%, and they feel that has an effect. And then also they might have to do some shooting some foam in certain areas to help block some things. So I don't know. It's frustrating. As we were talking, it was dripping down on the guys. So they know that what we're dealing with in that. But a few 3 or 4 waste paper baskets around upstairs and that. But we'll get it figured out. Getting back up to the second one, water slide. What we found out the day after Christmas, when we hit that deep freeze, ice was formed in the water slide inside, and kids were kind of getting little scratches on them and that. So we had to close it down during the cold days, and then when it warmed up, we opened it, and there was the ice that formed. It came out, and now we have that issue too. But I'm talking with Global out of Minneapolis that built the pool, and some other facilities that have the outdoor slide or the funnel outdoors, and we're coming up with some ideas. So we'll probably have some issues this winter, but we'll get it taken care of this summer and for next year. And that. Flooring issues, carpet versus tile. There's areas that if we had it over, we probably would have used tile instead of carpet just for cleaning. People like in the community room, the very first birthday party we had, I came in afterwards, and there was grounded birthday cake and pizza in the carpet. So we were so concerned about kids slipping and finding material that will soak up the water, but we also something that's a little bit easier to clean. But it's still staying great looking. Cleaning is an ongoing project for us. We probably for the since March, we've been open through the end of December. There was 2 weeks that we were able to have full staff cleaning just because of the lack of applicants. And that's not just us. I talked to Lake Area. I talked to a lot of other people in the school system, and that it's just hard to find and keep good people. We have a good crew, but we're just not at full staff, and that. But that's again ongoing. And then at the end, janitorial, or staffing, I should say, and janitorial, lifeguards, and programming. We're just the lifeguards. We have plenty. That was a concern we had, but we have plenty. But they're busy too with their school and their activities and that. So we're always getting subs for other ones. And Jody is spending a lot of time on their cell phone nights and weekends, just trying to keep, But we've always had the proper amount of staff in there and that. But programming is just hard for us to. We don't have as many people as we'd like to have for doing special events and ongoing programming, just because there's so much other stuff going on. Everything just grew 2 to 3 times of what we were doing before, which is great. But again, we're not even a year old, so we have to settle in and see how things go. And as I mentioned, the janitorial, as long as we can continue to keep recruiting, we'll be okay. So that's things in a nutshell. If anybody has any questions.
Thank you. Councilman Vilhauer?
You've answered some of them. Some of my questions, John, I was going to run through a few that I had here. The seating issue, that was a concern right out of the chute. That's been pretty well addressed. Okay.
Yes, I had a volleyball tournament this November, and then we've had some basketball tournaments, and that's the pictures that I put in. But I have other ones, but I haven't heard any complaints.
Okay. I know there was some concerns early on about parents dropping kids off and, letting them have the run of the place while the parents took off and did their thing for, whatever time frame. Has that been addressed?
Yes. We had we were very surprised and very taken back. They kind of almost ran us over the first month and a half. But we changed some policies and enforced them in that, and now it so far has not been an issue. It was an issue this summer because of summer activities, but coming into the fall and the winter now, especially now, January, no, it's been good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you're planning on somewhat of a rate increase as memberships renew. Assuming everybody renews, how much additional revenue would that bring in? Do you or Kristen?
Yes, not counting the sales tax, about $61,000 approximately.
Okay.
Based on the numbers that we anticipate.
On the utilities, I know when we had the budget discussions last summer, we were going to work with the utilities department if there were some areas or suggestions that they might have. You're looking at me. I assume you've reached out to the utilities, or where are we at?
Well, for one thing, we're tweaking things. We're keeping things as cool as we can and as warm as we can, and as far as the temperature, and working with just today, Western, I can't think of the full name, but they're out of Sioux Falls that did the heating and cooling. They designed it. Stuart, the gentleman that came up, I told him what we spent, and he figured it came out to about $1.90 per square foot, and he says that's a little high, but it's not out of line in that. So it's just continue tweaking, and this might have been what it was supposed to be. We don't know.
Can we get a copy of your presentation, John? Can that
Sure.
be made available to the public and to us as council members? That'd be helpful to have access to that.
I can email it to you.
Okay, thanks, John.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Councilman Albertson?
John, one of the concerns was going to be having kids in for the weekend activities and being able to have them come in the north doors, lock them, so they didn't get into the other side. Is that working out okay?
Yeah, great for them not coming in, but then we have our members that come in our regular front door, and then they go through that door. But it's working out. That the north door, it works great, but we do have doors going from the big gym into our gym, and it's locked so you can't go in, but people on the other side of the door opens up, and it's just something that it's not going to change. We're just going to live with. We're going to have to, I have a facility supervisor, and he keeps close. They keep close tabs when we have tournaments and that. You know, we put a lot of thought into this building, and some of these things were works great. Other ones we're way off, and other things it's just, you know, we've got to work with it and that. But on the whole, we did a good job.
Mayor.
Councilman Bueller?
John, I just want to say that, you know, one of our objectives, this was a quality of life, this construction, and I think it has done that. I think we're having tremendous success. This is great. We knew all along there'd be some tweaks. You know, there'd be some things that we'd have to fix, and moving forward, we've been doing that. There's been other things that we've dealt with, and I just think this has been a really great success for Watertown, and I think it's going to help us moving forward in the development of our community as well. But I do want to share one thing that I'm just going to relay this this in regards to a swim meet we just had this last weekend. Apparently there was a disconnect or something going on about the gym. They said they were, and I'm telling you from one of the officials that worked at the swim meet told me that he said they kind of got kicked out of the gym, and you remedied that, but I don't know how that happened. But
Well, yeah, they have the swim team. As I showed that picture, they need a court to hold it, and before they got it very inexpensive at the old facility. Well, now the Park and Rec, their policy is $25 per court per hour, and that because it might seem high, but here again we got to pay for this facility and that. And they didn't. To my understanding, the swim team didn't want to rent it the whole day, just through 1 o'clock. Well, 1 o'clock came, and then all of a sudden they had to leave, and I happened to be up there. It was a Sunday afternoon, about 1 o'clock, and some came to me and where are we going to go, and that so put me on the spot. And actually, the Park and Rec had a volleyball league starting later on that afternoon. They were going to use 3 courts, and then they always keep 1 court of those 4 open for the wellness center. Well, I just said Park and Rec can use our court, and let's keep the people where they're at. You know, so it worked out. But it's here again. We got to sit down with the swim team and tweak things with them. And that because it's just, things are going to cost more, and that because of the building.
Yeah, we certainly don't want to see, you know, people get turned away and get moved out of there. We brought how many people to Watertown for a 2-day event, stayed overnight. Yeah.
It wasn't our fault, but we kind of got blamed for it, and we made it right.
Councilman Danforth?
John, just to go back on your numbers just for a second, you were down 58,000 on your revenue, and up 135 or one something, I can't remember the number, on expenses, but yet the bottom line you show as...
Well, for one thing, we anticipated bringing in more revenue than what we were going to spend. If you see, Mike, we were projected to spend $1,192,000, and we projected to bring in 1.37, and that so. I know it doesn't look right, but the bottom line of the budget that I received a couple weeks ago showed that we were about 20,000, you know, from.
Oh, I see. You were projecting $180,000 worth of net income.
Yeah.
Okay. Just a comment. I have gotten a couple calls on this in regards to and this is really probably a Terry and Jay issue, in regards to the use of the 4 gyms. I had gotten a call probably, I don't know, over the Christmas break, I would guess is when it was, by an individual, and they said, you realize that the school system is not using the 4 gyms up there. And I said, well, I wasn't aware of that, and that was certainly one of our hopes originally, is that would alleviate some of their gym space problems and then bring in their practices. I have not talked to Terry or Jay about this or to you about it, but is that the case, that the school is not using the 4 gyms?
Monday through Friday, they're using 3 courts. 3 courts Monday through Friday.
In this facility?
Volleyball in the fall and basketball.
Okay, yeah, because the person was concerned that the community was sold on the school using this, school's not using it, their kids are still practicing at odd hours, late hours, whatever
Well,
it is.
I don't know as far as if they're still practicing odd hours because they needed more, but no, they're using,
Okay, I'm just relaying what.
yeah.
And then the second thing is I've gotten a couple calls from these parent-ran teams, these travel teams, and historically they haven't had to pay for anything to use a gym if it was available, and now there is a rental charge, and I do know that there are some concerns with that. I'm just throwing that at you guys, and I get it, I understand it,
Yep.
but I just told them that I would relay those concerns as it comes up. So.
All right.
Councilman Y.
So the school district is using 3 courts Monday through Friday. What, from 4 to 10?
No, 4 to 6 o'clock, I think.
Just a couple
that's
hours?
during their practice time after school.
And is that revenue generating for the city then, or is that a trade out, or?
I mean, what we did, this is the first year, Josh, that we actually are contracting a financial commitment from the school. They always had the city auditorium, and that was a gratis school-city agreement, not in writing, just a verbal longstanding. When we approached this new facility, we knew the bottom dollar amount it was going to take to get to that roughly $20,000 loss, which we were hoping was a break even. We approached them for what we feel is a very fair number. We gave them access still to the city auditorium at no expense. So they really get 3 courts. The contract is for 2, but if we're not using the third, which we don't, because our kids, we rely on parent volunteer coaches, things like that. They're not available till roughly 6 p.m. So school's typically in there for 3:45, 5:45. 3 courts, sometimes it's 2 if we do have an after-school program. We take priority. And then they still have access to city auditorium. So really, they're getting 5 courts Monday through Friday from school start till I don't think we'll see a use in the spring season. Obviously they can go outdoors. But no, as far as revenue, I can't think of the contracted amount. I want to say it's right around $6,000 for the year. And that just helps pay some of the costs. We go in and janitorial clean up after them. We heat, there's just certain expenses. We're not making money by any means off the school, but they're helping contribute, pay that bottom dollar.
So that contract's in place, or it's something you're working on?
Nope, that's in place. Okay. We signed into it 2 payments, a fall payment, a winter payment. And we worked with the new superintendent, Dr. Danielson, and worked through their Rick Hohen, and everybody was happy at the end of the agreement. I think the mayor was part of those talks, if I remember correctly. So everybody came away feeling good, feeling fair. I think they understand that it's not the city auditorium. There's higher expenses that we need assistance on. And going back to Councilman Danforth's comment on travel team, I think the school system is never charged. We always have at the city level with the auditorium. And it's just dollars and cents. We can look at, what is our true overhead. In a year or 2, we'll know costs on square footage and times. And it's just gotten difficult to pay for $1 million plus operating budgets, giving it away. That's our intent. It's quality of life. We have taxpayers. At the same time, we want to get as close as we can as to a bottom line that breaks even with no pressure to the taxpayers. So kind of a pay-to-play mentality.
Okay. Any other comments? Questions? Thank you very much.
Well, and thank you for your support in the past and hopefully in the future. Thank you.
The Prairie Lakes Wellness Center really is a source of pride for our community. All right, moving on. Is there any old business? Any new business? There's no need for executive session pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2, and so I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Solom, second by Albertson. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. We're going to adjourn and take a 5-minute break and come back for the council meeting.